Welcome to Basement Movie Room.
Yes, welcome.
So, Rings of Power, Episode 3. We couldn't do it on Thursday because Amazon decided that 11 p.m. is a good time, and we actually have jobs.
Yeah.
So, in any case, it's okay. We'll do it when we can. Probably on Fridays most of the time when we can get together on Fridays. But if not, Sundays will not fail us. We will be here every Sunday to talk about Rings of Power, hopefully Fridays.
Just get to double up. What a great time right now to be able to talk about House of the Dragon and Lord of the Rings
Power.
For crying out loud.
Yeah. A lot of rope.
Yeah, a lot of rope, as we call it.
Yeah. Charlie Brunson had a lot of rope. All right, so Rings of Power. Sorry that the title of the stream says Hot D.
Hot
basically.
D.
But in any case, I will figure out how to change that in the future if we do this again. So, Rings of Power Episode 3. We start out in the Orc camp, and Arondir has been captured like he was at the end of the last episode. And Arondir is being put into chains and by orcs, which there's a lot more of them than just the one we saw last episode.
Yeah.
And it seems that they are they've captured all the other elves from his camp and some humans as well, it seems like. And they are being put to work digging trenches and covering them so the orcs can travel across the Southlands because they can't get in sunlight. I feel like that changed at some point.
Yeah, they had to have evolved.
Yeah, I think we had orcs in sunlight. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure we did. But these particular orcs, don't like sunlight and cannot get in sunlight. And they are making all these people dig the trench going forward. And that's kind of the introduction there where Arondir meets the other elves, his friendly elf. And the goblins do works for Lord of the Rings too. Dragons. Yeah, there's Smaug was in the Hobbit, obviously. So we got dragons.
Yeah, it's multi
it's multi-series.
No.
More, yeah, and it's a little bit left in it, and then I'm done drinking for the night.
Liar.
We didn't see that elf later. So yeah, so that's kind of the end of the scene. We see what's going on with Arondir and the other. I can't remember his chief elf, like the guy who's in charge, but he had a small scene in the last episode at the elf camp. So
yeah, I think
and there's Arondir getting captured right there in the
Yep.
recap. He's got it on the TV right here that we're looking straight at from the other side of our camera. So that's the end of that. Arondir is being put to work to dig these trenches for the orcs. Then we jump over to Galadriel and Halbrand. Halbrand? I think it's Halbrand. I think that's how he says in the episode. On the ship that picked him up last time. We weren't sure who picked him up. Could have been a pirate. Could have been somebody else. It ends up it is somebody else. It is a ship heading towards somewhere. They don't know where they're going. And the captain of the ship, who becomes somewhat of a main character in this episode, is not telling them where they're going.
Yes.
But he indicates that they're going home and that they're pretty much already there, that they can see themselves. And they look, Galadriel and Halbrand look over the side and they start seeing faces in the rock and large statues. And Galadriel says, "We're going into Numenor."
Yes.
Which the name of our podcast.
Thank
Tales
God.
of Numenor. I was smart to choose that. Didn't know Numenor was going to come up in the series. Just assumed it.
Great job.
Tales of Numenor.
Yep.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yes.
So that's where they're going. They enter into Numenor by the ship, and they take Galadriel and Halbrand in. And this is all one big scene. That's why I'm just keeping going. I don't want to stop. These are short scenes. They take Galadriel and Halbrand into I guess it's the palace. We're never really told what it is. It's a palace. There's a lot of people there. And they're approached by a guard. The guard says that the queen and provolone
cheese, yes.
Provocon or something like that. Her assistant are busy and that they can't take it. But then the guard sees Galadriel's elf ears. He kind of like...
He steps to the side.
Looks weird. He looks a little weird, steps to the side, and allows them through. They put them in front of the queen. The captain of the ship kind of stands back and doesn't do anything, but Galadriel and Halbrand go up to the queen regent. Let's get that right. She's not the queen. She's the queen regent. So she's clearly worked the queen, but not really the queen. because Queen Regent means she's taking over for somebody that is incapacitated or something to that effect. So Halbrand tells Galadriel to kneel. They start to kneel, and the Queen's like, no, we don't kneel here in Numenor.
Yeah.
So they stand back up, and they have a conversation with the Queen, in which Galadriel, her elf comes out real hard here, unfortunately. Elves speak things as it is, as they see it. So she comes out and is like, this is Numenor, you wouldn't even have this land if it wasn't for the elves. And the Queen's like, we wouldn't have this land if it wasn't for the blood of our people, because we find that the Numenorians were given their land because they worked with the elves in the war against Morgoth. When people like from the Southlands worked for Morgoth, like where we find out Halbrand is from the Southlands. By the way, Peter Jackson shirts. Yeah,
get it?
Yours a little block.
Get it?
Peter Jackson shirts. Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah. Get it? Got it? Good.
Over here.
Peter Jackson.
Oh crap! I'm in my goblet's in the way.
Yeah, I moved my goblet over so you could see it. There it is.
Peter Jackson. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
even though he has nothing to do with this series.
Yeah, no, nothing at all. Except, they're taking a lot of cues from him, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, this is where Halbrand kind of steps in and stops Galadriel from being her elf self, which, the elves are like sitting up here and men are down here, and they know it, and they think they're higher up than men, which they've always had that. They're immortal. Yeah. She's thousands of years old or something like that at this point.
She looks great for 1,000.
Best looking 3,000-year-old woman I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you know, but elves only age to a certain age and then they stop aging. But apparently some of them much age longer because Celebrimbor looks definitely older than everybody else. So it's kind of weird, but.
It is interesting how
it is. It's like they're not playing by the rules. It's just assuming that the elves maybe every 1,000 years gain a year or something like that, So Halbrand kind of takes over and he uses his human intuition to realize that the Queen not really sure what to do with them at this point. So he's like, well, why don't you just, take a few days, make a decision on what you want to do with us. Because Galadriel just wants to leave immediately and wants a ship to take her away and then think they're going to give it to her. And Halbrand understands that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So they agree that, they'll take a few days, and then they say Galadriel has to stay on the palace grounds. She's like, I will not be made a prisoner. And the other guy, I can't remember his name. It's a hard name to remember. Paracraxon or something. I don't know. I'm just going to keep saying it wrong.
Yeah.
Says
just make up a new name
our guest
every time.
You're our guest, and that doesn't really help. She's clearly a prisoner.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the end of that scene, other than the part where Halbrand goes up to the captain who has Galadriel's dagger and hugs him and says, thank you for saving us, and he ends up with the dagger and gives it back to Galadriel. It's her brother's dagger, so she obviously wants it back.
Right.
And that's the end of that scene. The next scene is a scene with... I'm sorry, I skipped right past it. Do you have anything to say about that scene? I didn't mean to...
No. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah.
We'll just sum it up at the end.
Yeah. So the next scene is a scene of a Numenor ship where it seems to be some people training on it, and you're all of a sudden realizing that this is Isildur.
Yes.
Of killing Sauron fame in the war, which we see in the first of Fellowship of the Ring. We see that whole scene with the Galadriel narrating that scene, actually.
Right.
It's Kate Blanchett's Galadriel narrating that scene. So this is Isildur. Yeah. And he's a cadet on the ships of Numenor. His father, we do learn, is a land... wait a minute.
Arendelle?
Nope, I'm going to get his actual name. Elendil.
Okay.
Who is the captain who rescued...
Arendelle. Elendil. Okay.
Yeah, who rescued Galadriel and Halbrand. So that's his father. We're not.
Which he was also in the Lord of the Rings, the opening scene too.
Yeah.
Because he's the one that he was king first.
Assumingly, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So he is on a ship training to be like his father, a ship captain essentially, and we get that line. They come back to the beach after training, and with that line, "The sea is always right."
Yes,
which comes back later in the episode, which is great. This scene's like great. It kind of shows you the training they go through, and you're also introduced to Isildur's sister, Eardian.
Yes,
Eardian. Yeah, Eardian, which is Eardien. Eardian,
yes.
I think is how they pronounce it later. Who comes to the beach to greet him, and then she's it's funny because he runs over, and the horse is who he greets instead of her.
Yeah,
so they have horses on this island of Numenor.
Yeah, nice little bit of comedic, which we haven't been getting a lot of.
Yeah,
a lot of comedic moments.
No,
and that was nice and subtle. And
it was great. It was perfect. It's kind of like the Peter Jackson original trilogy. Like there were comedic moments, potatoes and all that.
Oh yeah.
What about second breakfast?
Yeah, but it's not over the top corny.
No,
yeah.
and
it's not forced.
Hobbits were kind of the Harfoots are kind of the comedy relief.
They are the comedy relief. So,
yeah. But you get these moments, and it's all great. I mean, everything looks good still. This is a terrific looking
beautiful
episode yet again. You're in Numenor, which is
Numenor looks amazing.
Yeah, it looks amazing. And I commented on the armor while we were watching it, because we were watching it again before we hopped on to watch Hot D. That the armor, I was like, do I have a problem with the armor, or do I think it's more realistic? And I think I'm falling on the end that it's more realistic. It's not super shiny. Mm-hmm. It looks like it's worn. People are using the armor. So I kind of thought that when the elves were wearing armor, that it should have been shinier and stuff in the first episode. But
it's a lot more. It's a lot more practical.
It's practical armor. It's lighter armor. It's not that thick plate armor. It seems lighter. It's stop and arrow probably, if it's possible, But I think the armor is very good. Everything's good, and their armor is kind of a goldish color in Numenor, which is cool. And it's got like the
anything but a straight shot.
That's right. That's right. So
little Dark Knight reference. Sorry.
Yeah. So the next scene after that one is Queen Regent meeting with Captain Elendil in the palace. And this scene is particularly interesting to me because I feel like Elendil gets the best of the Queen Regent. He does, because she's like...
She was not happy about that either.
She was like, why would you bring an elf to our shores?
Yeah.
How we feel about elves here. Which Elendil... We're getting the feeling that he has a different relationship with elves than the queen and maybe other people do. And he's like, the sea put her in front of me, and the sea is always right. It's so clearly a thing. And I
comes
like,
back,
in your face, Queen Regent, in your face. That's what you get. So, but she doesn't actually play to that. She goes, she mentions like treason.
Yeah, it's treasonous.
It's treason. Then the emperor.
And he and he walks up behind her. He's like, "Hey, well, settle down. Let's let's talk
like
about
backs
this."
Off a little bit off that. But it ends up she's going to have a job for him, and his job ultimately we do find out is to watch over Galadriel. That's his job, and he's presented with a sword. And I don't think either ones are clear on if this sword, seeing as his son is Isildur, if this is the sword, the Gondorian sword that
it would make sense.
That was the broken sword that he killed Sauron with after he broke it, and that it's reforged in Return of the King with and Aragorn uses in Return of the King. I think it is. I think it's supposed to be. I think we're supposed to see it as that way. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But it's a fancy sword she gives him.
It wouldn't make sense though. Yeah. I mean that's his ancestors. Aragorn's ancestors.
Yeah, that's his ancestors for sure.
Yeah.
So and there's that guy from later in the episode. I knew he was in there. So she presents him a sword. He is to watch over her, and it's pretty cool scene. I mean, do you have anything to say about that one?
No, it's just nice to have that connective tissue with the movies now.
Yeah, it's nice.
Other than everybody knows who Galadriel is.
Yeah.
But now we're getting Isildur and his dad. I mean, we're starting to get people that we recognize, although only a couple scenes.
Yeah, they're not in much.
But it's those are big scenes, and it helps you understand the story a little bit more.
Right.
But now we're getting people that we actually know.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes me a little giddy inside. So I'm loving it.
Yeah.
So
after that scene, we jump back to the Southlands with Arondir and the orcs. Arondir and a couple of other elves, his captain elf and his friend elf that we saw earlier that was like, oh, what was going on by the well? You know, he's there too, of course. They are digging and they come upon a great tree, and they can't really get by it, and the main head elf is like, oh, we can't get by the trees here, and they're like, well, cut through the roots, and he doesn't want to do that. He's like, this tree's been here longer than you know, and
which
it deserves.
Elves have they're real close with nature. So
he's like, we shouldn't cut this down, you know. And the orcs are like, you're going to cut it down, or, you know, I'll make a map on your back, is what the one says with the whip, you know. And so, you know, they're like, no, we'll dig around it and all this. And all of a sudden, this one orc comes up, and I told you I'd watch this with subtitles, and you get his name. His name is Magrot.
Magrot. Yeah, what a great name for an orc.
And he's clearly like the captain.
The orcs look great.
Oh, fantastic.
I mean, everything in the show is looking great.
Yeah.
But the orcs especially.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they look pretty flawless right
absolutely
now.
Terrific. Yeah, absolutely terrific.
But
so Magritte comes out and is like, oh, I like your spunk or something like that. You know, it's something like that. He's like, here, have a water ration for you and your men.
He's laughing as he comes up.
And he's like, you know, the main elf, Hano or something like that is his name.
I didn't catch his name.
I think it was in the subtitles. I don't think he only says it at the last part of the scene where they're trying to escape. He's like, he doesn't believe him. He's kind of doubting him. He's like, oh, you know, you don't trust me and all this. And he pours the water on his hand and he hands it to the guy. And he drinks of it. And he's fine. It's water.
Sorry.
It is water. And he gives it over to Arondir after that. And Arondir drinks of the water. And then they give it to the elf friend, the other elf that was in the village with Arondir. And he starts to drink. And Magrot pulls a blade and cuts his throat and kills him. And so it's like, you know, orcs don't ever give you anything for free. It's got to cost you, and that's fine.
And we were making fun of that cut. I mean, it didn't seem like that was a cut that would
it was like
kill him.
Slice and no blood hardly. It's like, you know,
it was cool.
Elf hearts are in their neck.
He cut his heart in his neck.
Yeah,
you got a heart in your neck. But I mean, the effect was really cool.
Yeah,
when he got cut.
Slowly,
and you see it. Yeah, that was pretty neat. But
slowly opens up.
Yeah, we were making fun of it. But either way, he wasn't a very important character. So
no, I mean, he was fodder.
Yeah,
they didn't have to save him. So after that, the elves kind of get up in arms about this, and they get the main head elf guy in like a hold with the knife, and Arondir says, I'll cut the tree down. I will cut it down. So he grabs an axe. And earlier in the episode, I guess the main elf had said, you know, one of us needs to get above the tree line and see, you know, above the trench line and see where the tree line is so we can plan our escape. And so it had a double use. Arondir was going to cut the tree down, unfortunately, which he wasn't happy about. He gives it the little blessing before he starts. But he sees that, like, pretty much a wasteland is above that trench. Everything's been burned down. Clearly during the night, the orcs are going out and burning everything down. So there's no escape area. But he starts to cut it down. They let the head elf go. And then we jump back to another scene with back in Numenor with Galadriel. Galadriel's escaped. And two of the knights of Numenor are looking
Shall I
for
be
her.
your cupbearer?
I'm good. Two of the knights are looking for her, and one of them's like, "I'm not going to tell them again that they escaped. It's your turn." And he's like, "It was a dog last time," or something like that. It was goofy, but during that scene, you see Galadriel kind of jump over their heads across the thing, and like that, you know, fleet of foot thing for elves. They can jump. So
then she covers her ears.
Yeah. She covers her ears with her hair so nobody will recognize her ears. And she is going to look like she's going to steal a ship. She goes in, she's looking, all of a sudden she hears a voice behind her, and it's Elendil.
Yeah.
Elendil. So he is behind her, talking to her, telling her that, like, I'm not clear on what this scene means when he's talking to her, but he speaks in Elvish, or Eldar, or whatever they call the language.
Elvish, yeah.
And she's like shocked that he speaks Elvish, and then he says, my son can run blind, and my daughter can run very fast, or something like that. And I'm not clear on if he's saying that maybe they have some elf blood in their line, or if he's just saying
mixing
they're elf supporters or something to that effect.
Yeah.
But you get the feeling that his line, his area he's from, which he says is far west, I think is what he says, is more supportive of the elves and friendly with the elves, and that their old king was also supportive of the elves at this time. I think that's when he tells her that, and that they have what is it? A lore? What does he call it? A hall of lore.
A hall
of lore where he lives. And she's like, well, how far is this? And he's like, it's a quarter day's ride. And she goes, ride? She gets very excited about this ride thing. It's like, it's a little weird.
And we were discussing too, Aragorn was 200 years old.
Yeah.
Do they have the same length of
Which
years?
Elf blood would explain
so
that.
Yeah, that would, and that's what I was getting to, is if there was some little bit of elf blood in them, that would make sense. And do they live that long?
They might.
I don't know.
I mean,
I'm not well versed on all that.
You're seeing him here. He's a little craggy. He's a little older, obviously. He's got 2 kids that are like in their 20s. It looks like, but yeah. So we don't know.
Not sure.
I get the feeling that he's saying there's elf blood in them, and they're more human than elf, but there's elf blood in their lineage.
And that would make a lot of sense, though.
Yeah.
With
maybe that particular
the extended life
community he's from is the people with elf blood. And there's an elf in their lineage, and there's the presentation of the sword.
There it is.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, is that the sword?
I don't know. I still don't know if that's the sword.
Is that the S-word? Ooh, that was actually my best one.
That was
I'm terrible at that.
Better than usual.
I'm normally terrible.
Better than usual. So, the next scene is Elendil and Galadriel riding across a beach into Elendil's home territory. And it's the goofiest scene. I was like, what?
Yeah.
She is enjoying this horse ride far too much.
Way
it's just like
too much.
Shot of her big smile. And I'm like,
it was pretty awkward.
I'm like, oh, this is weird.
Yikes.
This is weird.
It was a little cringy.
Yeah. So,
which, I mean, honestly, that's about the only time I felt cringe.
Yeah. It's like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
It's no big deal.
It was so awkward.
Kind of plays for laughs, ultimately, anyway. So, after that's just a very short scene. It jumps back to Numenor, and it's Halbrand and the blacksmith trying to get a job. He's wanting to get a job. He's talking to the blacksmith. He's like, I'll do anything. I'll shovel coal. I'll do woodworking or something like that. And the blacksmith's like, you sound like you'd be a good worker and all this, but unfortunately you can't work this craft in Numenor without your guild pin or guild badge.
Yeah.
And so he points to it. It's a little gold badge on their shoulder that they apparently have to work in Numenor, which he doesn't have, obviously. He just got there. So he leaves and he goes to a restaurant or bar or something, and he's eating, and these guys start giving him trouble.
Oh, those oysters look so good.
Oysters, clams, whatever.
Clams. They were so big. Yeah. Oh, man.
They're huge. He's eating them. Seafaring people are going to have the best seafood, obviously.
Oh, gosh.
So the next scene, he's eating the clams, oysters, whatever they are, and there's a guy behind him that we saw earlier. He was in the throne room when they were there,
right,
with a bad haircut, and he starts kind of jabbering with him, and he's like, "What's your name?" And he's like, "Depends." And he's like, "What does that mean?" "It depends." He's like, "Depends on how good a friend we are," or something like that. So the guy comes over. And he's sitting there, and he's like, you came in with the she-elf, which I made the joke. They're called shelves. I just want to point that out. I thought it was pretty good. Yeah. Maybe it's a lot of rope dad joke.
A lot of rope dad joke.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Put that one on the shelf.
That's right on the shelf. So he comes over, and of course Halbrand is not one to take shit off anybody. He's particularly salty. Ultimately, he's like, he's like, oh, you come here to take our money and our jobs and all this stuff, and he's like, oh, you forgot your women too. And so that's when the guy's friends come over and sit around, and Halbrand knows that he has to tread lightly here. He's like, oh, yep, I'm sorry. I'll buy the drinks for everyone for the next couple rounds.
Next few rounds
around me.
He's
got a plan.
Where do you get the money?
Yeah, I'm assuming that they must have given him some money. Some walking around money or something like that. So he's buying drinks for him. They're having a good old time, and you see him go up to the guy that had hassled him first, who has a guild badge. All of them have guild badges, and he puts his arm around him. He's like, "Oh, I'm done. I'm going to head out," and his guild badge disappears with that arm. So Halbrand walks off. He walks around a corner. He's flipping the guild badge in the air, and the guys come up behind him, and he's like, "Do you really think we didn't figure that out?
Right?
We did that." And so Halbrand gets into a fight with these guys. He's like, I don't want to do this. And Halbrand's kind of a badass.
Yeah,
he's got some fighting experience. He takes down these four guys.
He has a little rage in him.
Breaks an arm. It's so gross. It's Steven Seagal gross. It's like, oh God, broke the radius and ulnar right in, and you see him poke out like right there.
It looks so. It looks so real.
And slams a bad haircut into the wall a couple times too, which you get the little blood spots on the wall.
Now, I've been seeing things about who's Sauron, this, that, everybody's trying to figure out who Sauron is. I've been seeing a lot about Halbrand being...
That is the least likely character.
Well, I think because he wants to be a guild member? Is it guild? Yeah. And, that way he can forge things, and, the rings were forged, and,
By Celebrimbor, though.
Yeah, exactly. So I've been seeing a lot of... I'm like... That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but we could be surprised. But
no, I don't think that's
it is either.
I think don't.
Yeah, he's gonna be your Aragorn type character.
Yeah.
So
he is. He's and
but yeah, I kind of wanted to put that to rest.
Yeah.
As far as what we think,
we're gonna get more on him later in the episode, so there's more to discuss with him.
Right.
So the next scene is Galadriel and Elendil in the Hall of Lore that she had wanted to go to. She's looking for information on the Sauron symbol that she believes is a symbol. She draws it out and says, "Hey," gives it to Elendil, and he takes it to the librarian. Essentially, is what the guy is, and he gives her some stuff, and they're like, "Oh, this is from a spy in a camp." And Galadriel realizes it's not a symbol, it's actually a map, is what it is. It's the map of the Southlands, and that means that the Southlands, Sauron's returning, and he's in the Southlands. Because basically, she turns it sideways, and it's two mountains with a mountain range around it with a smaller mountain.
It was the map,
it's a little goofy, I'm going to be honest. It's a little goofy.
It's almost like the map in Rise of Skywalker on the sorry,
it's all
sorry to bring that up.
It was a little goofy, but
a wrecked ship makes a map. It's along the lines of that. But
it's that kind of stuff. So
not that.
So she figures out that it's the Southlands. It's a map of the Southlands mountain ranges. Is what it is. And she's like, "Oh, the Southlands are in trouble. We have to get there and help them out." And then she also does some other stuff while she's there, which we'll see later in the episode. But that's kind of the end of that. But we also get the information that Elros, I think is the one who founded Numenor Hall of Lore.
Yes, they brought him up.
She's like, "Oh, but I was always closer to his brother," and that's Elrond.
That's Elrond.
It's kind of a goofy painting.
Eldros. Yeah.
Eldros or Elros.
Yeah, the goofy like painting.
That. The painting's a little bit like it's good, but it's a little goofy. You ever seen there's a Star Wars poster out there that's like a grouping of all the characters from Star Wars, and it looks great from a distance. When you get in close, you look at Leia, and it's like, oh, good Lord, what have they done? It's like they don't look right. Like Leia and Luke and Han and all them posted, they don't look right.
There's something off about them.
Them. It's like you can tell it's Elrond in the painting. But
it's them from the holiday special.
Off.
Yeah,
it's a little off, you know. So it's kind of like that kind of painting, but clearly it's Elrond.
It was pretty corny. Now that you bring that up, I'm like,
it's a little silly. Painting's like a little like it's like the artist was okay here, but he wasn't great. You know? He's not like
But we knew who.
We're not dealing with Michelangelo or Raphael or any of the Ninja Turtle painters, you know. So.
But we knew who they were.
So so we're getting a pretty good indication that this area of Numenor is very elf friendly, which Elendil basically says that they're elf friendly, but even more so because they're keeping us
more than what they're putting on.
Yeah, we also get that information that the king, who hasn't been seen in a while, has been locked away in a tower essentially by the Queen Regent, who's his daughter, was very elf friendly.
Yeah,
and did not allow that Hall of Lore remain and not be destroyed. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there. And so that's the end of that. And I thought that was pretty good scene. You know, it kind of here it is.
There's the scene,
right in the horse scene. It's just goofy. But in any case, that's the end of that. And then we jump from the Hall of Lore to the King of Numenor with the Queen Regent. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I made a note here that says King of Numenor locked in tower due to elf friendliness. That's what we just
that's what they brought up.
That's what we just talked about.
There it is.
The next scene is actually
Yikes.
The next scene is actually the Harfoots in costume dancing around, and Nori, the dad and the wife, are trying to figure out migration, how they're going to migrate, and there's indications that they're going to be in the front of the caravan, that their pace is going to set the pace essentially because he has a new leg. Their pace can set the pace, and that they'll be okay because of that, and it won't be an issue.
And they're trying not to fall behind. Yeah.
And it's him talking to his wife. I guess Nori wasn't actually there. My notes.
No, it's just
it was the dad and his wife, who's not Nori's mother. It's made clear that she passed away or something. They probably left her behind.
Yeah, probably. Jeez.
She passed away or something, and he met this woman, and they married later after he had the two kids with Nori, because Nori has a younger sister. It looks like I don't know that we've seen her before, but we saw her this episode.
Yeah.
And then his new wife, which is Marigold, I think is her name. Marigold.
I think you're right. Yeah,
Marigold.
Yeah.
So. And we also go over to Nori and Poppy, trying to figure out how to help the human with the constellation. Poppy's not real fond of still helping about this, but Nori wants to get into Sardok, the elder, the Black Harfoot, his tent or his caravan to see what constellations is, because she knows he'll have it in his book. And she basically blackmails Poppy to help her by saying, "I'll tell one of these elder women that you put fire root in her toe cream or whatever."
Right, yeah.
So Poppy agrees to help. She goes into the tent.
Fire root in your toe cream.
Yeah. Nori goes into the tent. Poppy's doing the lookout, and then all of a sudden you hear, as she's looking through there and the papers are on the desk, you hear Poppy warn her that Sardok's coming back to his tent, and she hides under a thing, and there's this whole conversation, which is great, where she's talking to Sardok, and Sardok says back to her, and Nori's trying to find the paper that she left on the desk that she needs because it's got the constellation on it. She's like, "Have you left yet?" It's talking about to go left, and isn't it right? And and then at some point she says, "Isn't that right?" And she's, "No, I mean left." It's like, oh, that doesn't fit.
Yeah.
But Sardok's like, "Oh, weird girl." After Nori gets it, and Poppy runs off. So Nori does get it. She takes
Good comic relief. Yeah.
She takes it and gives it to the stranger, who we don't see or give it to him, but he has it in the next scene that we see. Sardok begins a speech about lost Harfoots, and that's where we're introduced to the kind of terribleness of the Harfoots to an extent. I understand what they're going for here. They can't stop. Predators are after them at all times. They can't stop.
They're small.
But they just leave people behind. And they start reading off names like, "Oh, we lost this, Bright Apple." Bright Apple's the first one. They're like, stuck in the snow of the mountains. And then we get the ones with the landslide. And we get the
bees.
The one with the bee was funny. Because, we all loved him, but he was an idiot.
A bit of an idiot. Yeah. Which the actor That actor,
Sardock,
he's doing great. I love him.
Sardock,
All the actors and actresses.
They're really terrific. Nori is absolutely just amazing. I love Nori. But Nori had given the papers to the stranger, and the stranger's looking at them, and in the camp he's like, come to the camp or something at this point.
He's off to the side on another fire.
They're doing this like in memory of type speech, and he's holding it over the fire trying to see it, and it catches on fire, and he starts freaking out and like knocks down a tent, so all the Harfoots see him. And he busted. They scares him at first because he has the tent over him, and he's like looks like a monster. And then they all hide. They're little like things where they look like grass. They all hide, and he busts out of the tent, and they figure out it's just a man. And he says Nori, so the Harfoots are going to know Nori is everybody, the one. And that's all he says.
So, are we going to speculate on who we think the stranger is?
We can speculate. Let's do it at the end.
At the end, okay. We'll hold that till the end
because that's the very end. At the very end of the episode, basically, is the stranger at the end of the episode, basically, right?
True. Yeah.
Well, no, there's one episode. One little part after that. But we'll do it.
But that's another character that we haven't. Yeah. We'll get there.
So the stranger has been discovered by the Harfoots. Nori's in trouble. They're talking about how that they have to be kicked out of the caravan if they violating rules. She's lied and she's stolen and she's brought another person into there that could put them in danger. But Sardock is forgiving. Yeah. He likes Nori.
They were going to leave. They were going to leave her behind.
Is that there? Nori?
Brandyfoot?
Brandyfoot. Brandy something.
Brandy.
It's Brandy.
Brandy something. Something like that.
Yeah. So he's like, well, she's young. She's got more hair to grow on her toes and space between her ears,
Mm-hmm.
So he's forgiving of her, even though the two kind of terrible old ladies that he hangs out with don't want to like banish her. And he's like, tomorrow we leave on the caravan as planned, and the Brandyfoots or whatever their name is shall be in the back. Which is a death sentence for them, essentially, for the caravan, because he's injured. The dad is injured, and they can't keep up. And you hear one thing, I think, from Marigold. Do you mean the back or the middle back? It's like,
yeah.
So Nori's feeling pretty terrible about this, and that's where kind of the scene ends, in that Nori's saying, like, we should have helped, we have to help him, he's
there's something special.
She has a great line there that says, the Harfoots only like, want to care about themselves or something, or care about, God, I wish I could remember the line, but it's something like, what are we if we don't care about our friends, or something like that. I love that line. It's terrific, and I can't remember it exactly, but it's a really good line that she has.
They're hobbits.
Yeah. Yeah. So now we go back to Numenor with Elendil and Isildur and the sister Eowyn, which I think I said that right. And they're talking, and Elendil and his kids are having like a dinner together, and you find out there's another brother, apparently an older brother, Arendor or something like that.
Yeah.
And Isildur said he's going to defer taking like his final exams or something to become a ship person, or whatever he becomes, like not a cadet anymore. And this angers Elendil pretty bad. He's like, well, why would you do this? I did everything. It took everything I had to get you in there, because apparently Isildur got in trouble with the Queen's bodyguards or something, or the Queen's Guard.
Had to pull some strings to get you where you're at.
And he gets really mad at him. He gets mad at Eowyn for like defending the decision, and he's like, "Oh, you knew about this and all this." But then somebody comes up and says, "I have a message for Eowyn." And during that time, Isildur and Elendil have a little conversation, and they didn't resolve anything, but they seem a little bit better in that conversation. And so, then the conversation is interrupted by Eowyn saying she was accepted into the guild. She's going to be in the Builders Guild. Apparently, she's a builder of some kind. She wants to build, design,
architect or something.
That. Yeah. And the father gets up and says, "Oh, I can't believe they reconsidered," and she's like, "Oh, Isildur told me to reapply or whatever." And he turns around, Isildur told you, and Isildur's gone. He's the magic man. He disappeared. Yeah. And that's kind of the end of that scene.
He put the ring on.
Yeah, he did. He put the ring on. Next scene is I don't know if you have anything to say about that scene. It's kind of just a world building scene. Really, is all it is. Galadriel visits Halbrand in jail because Halbrand was arrested after his fight with the guild members that he beat the crap out of. And she's discovered that Halbrand's little sigil that he wears on his chest means that he's a descendant of the king of the Southlands, essentially. And he's like, oh, I got that off a dead man. Which probably would be true, because he probably got it off his father, who died. And that, Galadriel's kind of indicating that he is ignoring his calling, essentially. That he's so much more than he is to be. And he's like, well, my people fought with Morgoth. And she's like, but you get kind of the inclination that his people didn't. They were like the other side. They worked for the other side. That it was some of the Southland people.
And that's probably why they're scattered. Because they're defeated. Yeah.
But, so, he's in jail. That's kind of the end of that area. She's just talking to him about, his destiny, essentially, And that's why he's important.
It's your Aragorn of the series.
Yeah. So he is, kind of our hero king guy. And of course, Isildur is also there too.
True.
So, hero king number 2. The next scene's the Queen Regent. She goes to the tower to talk to her father, who's in the tower, and this is a very short scene. And really, the only thing we get is the moment they feared has arrived. An elf is here.
Yes.
And that's all she says. We don't get
prophecy.
We don't get any speech from her father. That's it. That's the end of the scene. There's nothing to it. That's the end of the scene.
Don't even know.
It's just another mystery, kind of like with Durin and his father, King Durin. They're both named Durin, looking into that container, which is clearly full of mithril.
Right.
I mean, that's mithril.
Yeah.
But it's kind of just left to hang in the air right there.
Or is that stone? That stone from The Hobbit. It's like the dragon heart or whatever. That's what they call it.
It could be the tear.
It may be. I wonder. We'll find out.
Could be.
Yeah.
I think it's mithril.
No
Durin this episode.
Yeah, we didn't get. Yeah, it's kind of.
Our Keldrum book.
It's kind of disappointing. I missed them.
We'll get them next episode.
That's some of my best part. My favorite parts.
Yeah.
There's those. Yeah.
So the next scene is the Harfoot caravan. They're falling. The Proudfoots, or whoever they are falling behind. Nori's family is falling behind. And they stop. Poppy stops as well with her cart. Which her cart, it was just her.
It was just her. Cart. So because she's an orphan.
Brandyfoots. Poppy Brandyfoot? I don't know. I don't know. Proudfoot. I can't remember their names. They're all the same. Proud feet.
She lost her parents. I think they brought them up in that.
They probably did.
Yeah. And she's an orphan though.
Yeah, so she's carrying her cart by herself. She stops and they're like, No, Poppy, keep going, keep up with them, we'll catch up.
Yeah.
Wait for me. That's their little thing. Wait for me is their little thing. But so all of a sudden they're arguing about how they can best go about the cart, and all of a sudden the cart starts moving and the stranger is there. I can't remember. I can't figure out if maybe he was hiding in their cart and they didn't realize him. That's why their cart was really heavy.
I think so. Yeah, they didn't realize he was there.
That's why it was so heavy. You think they would know?
I think she was hiding him.
But the stranger gets out and they're like, "Well, maybe this is how we do it. He can help us. He's huge. He can help us." So that's what they're going to do. They're going to be fine because he's going to help them, even though the rest of the Harfoots aren't going to like that very much.
Yeah,
he's going to help them.
He got behind and started.
He's very willing to help.
Yeah,
and I think this is where we can discuss our theories on who he is.
Yes.
There are many theories out there. Is he Sauron? Is he someone else we don't even know about? Is he Gandalf, which is my theory? He feels like a Gandalf, or a Radagast, possibly. You have something else.
I think Sauron.
You think he's Sauron?
Or, not Sauron. Saruman.
Yeah, you think he's old Christopher
Saruman.
Lee.
Yes, I think so.
So, I mean,
he was good. He was good in the beginning. So, maybe this shows when he was, at his best.
Yeah.
Before he was, seduced by Sauron.
If anybody's confused on watching, we have 2 viewers. We're talking about Rings of Power now, House of the Dragon now.
Yes.
So Saruman, Rings of Power, and House of the Dragon. But no, the theory. There's also the theory out there is that he's one of the blue wizards, which don't exist anymore by the time of the Lord of the Rings. I don't think they would do that. I think it's got.
That might throw people off. I think they're trying to, like with bringing in Isildur and they're trying to make these characters relatable with what we already know.
And like I was telling you, they've already said they're compacting the lore to where, like, because if humans, they couldn't bring Isildur and stuff up for a long time. He'd be like, because he would die, you know. But they've compacted the storyline a little bit to bring all these people together. So that's why I think it's got to be one of the wizards we know, Gandalf, Saruman, Radagast, somebody that we know instead of just somebody new. He could be a blue wizard, I guess, who has some more to say, but right now we don't know. He doesn't talk still outside of Nori and Friend, and we just don't know. That's what Nori wants to find out.
Don't think it's Saruman or Sauron.
I don't think it's Sauron.
I keep wanting to say Sauron.
I think the last scene in this episode says it's not Sauron.
Exactly. Which we haven't gotten to yet, but
we're gonna get to it.
Yeah,
right meow.
Right meow.
Yeah.
So that's I like the theories here.
Yeah.
So who's the king?
Oh, the king?
The one that they stowed away in the
I don't know.
In the tower.
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe. Oh God. No.
Did you watch Thor: Love and Thunder yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. But yeah. So, I don't have any quotes from that.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it again. It's not great.
I'm gonna get around to it.
It's decent.
Yeah.
All right. So the next scene is back to Arondir.
Love me some Taika.
That's right. Back to Arondir and the orcs. So this is the escape scene where we get to them putting their plan into place. They begin the escape by kind of like using the chains to like fight against the orcs, and they wrap the chain around some of their necks, and then they get attacked, and the main orcs come in. The sunlight's too bright. They can't come out and fight them directly. The main orcs come in. Arondir like is fighting them off. The other elves that are there are fighting them off. Hanno, I think it's Hanno is the main elf. The head elf's name is fighting them, and then they say release the warg, which warg from Game of Thrones is a human that can get inside of animals and things like that. But not there. It's like this weird wolf-looking creature. You said it looked like the hyenas from the
crazy-eyed hyena
from Lion King, and that's right.
Ed from the Lion King.
Yeah, looks like that. So
he was.
The ward comes out to attack and just like destroys two elves. They're just terrible with it. Like I thought they were supposed to be better than this, but they both die trying to fight it. And Arondir manages to grab its chain, like jumps over the chain, grabs its chain, and like traps it inside the roots of the tree he cut down, and that gives time for the other ones to.
Very cool scene.
Yeah. It's all very cool. There's that one scene where he jumps on top of the chain. I can't remember if that's now or if that's later, but he walks across the chain, the fleet of foot thing.
Yeah, no, that was all. Yeah.
Is that all in this?
It's all in the same. Yeah,
that's all in the same scene. He kills an orc by like the ward jumps, like they grab the chain, he like jerks towards him and then kills the orc. He grabs a piece of the tree, stabs it in an orc's neck, and the fight it kind of continues. The ward gets out. He's trapped the ward gets out as Hanno is going up to the side of the chasm, and like Hanno, he's like, oh, escape, you know, and the ward goes up there, and all of a sudden the spear comes in. Arondir got the ward with the spear. Hanno, if I'm saying his name right, gets out, and you know Arondir climbs up to see where he's going because he's gotten out, and two arrows come. I don't know where those arrows came from. Well, I don't think it's orcs. I think there's men working.
Past him, you saw on that line of trees, there were somebody's waiting.
I think it's men
for them to get away.
I think they've got men on their
side. It may be the ones that are, you know,
the dark
that joined Sauron.
The Dark Brotherhood.
The Dark Brothers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It could be orcs just in the tree line, but yeah, two arrows kill Hanno, and Arondir's grabbed and thrown back to the ground, and you get bring him to Adar, and which we didn't mention earlier. That Adar is an elf word, and the one elf was like, why Arondir's? Why would they call their leader by an elvish word? And he's like, well, Sauron's had lots of names, so it could be, it's likely Sauron. So they bring him in.
It means father too. I think they brought that.
Is that what they said?
Yeah.
I don't remember that. But so they bring him in, and you get a vision of a figure coming by with a gloved hand. Look at the middle, the poster there. It looks a lot like that gloved hand to me.
It really does.
And that seems that's Sauron to me. Maybe we're getting like a little like dry pie here or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not, but we get a blurry vision of a face. It's a human face, but we don't know who it is.
Yeah, Sauron in his human form.
That's the end of the episode. And, yeah.
Yeah, still got a couple of characters to reveal to come up.
Yeah.
Between Numenor and Sauron, we still don't know who those guys are yet.
Yeah,
so
we have no clue.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that's the end of the episode. I really liked it. It's probably my favorite episode of the season.
Definitely got excited over this one, especially when they introduce characters that were in the movies. They're connecting everything. It's nice to see them taking their time.
Yeah.
And telling the story, building the world.
Yeah.
That we know a little bit about, but they're just expanding.
Yeah.
And I love take your time. Yeah. Keep doing it like this.
Like that.
And keep doing what you're doing. I'm loving this series right now.
Oh, it's fantastic.
The first 2 episodes are real slow, and I was kind of like, but I understand what they're doing now.
Yeah.
They have a lot of material that they have to explain.
Oh, they do.
In a short period of time, really.
There's a ton.
Yeah.
A ton of material.
Oh, yeah. A lot of lore there, so, yeah.
All right.
I'm loving it. Give me more.
Yeah. Oh,
give me more.
More is great. I mean, having House of the Dragon, Hot D, and this at the same time is just like a fantasy lover's dream. And I love fantasy.
Yeah, it's a great time to be alive.
It is. Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So that's it. Basement Movie Rooms podcast for Rings of Power.
You confused yourself on that one.
Confused myself. So we'll see you next time. And be sure to check us out on Twitch. We try to do it after the episode, at least of House of the Dragon. We do it, but we can't do it after Rings of Power since they decided to premiere at 11 p.m.
Yeah,
that's a little late. But if you want to join us on Twitch, feel free. Twitch.tv/Basement Movie Room. Otherwise, you can find us on your favorite podcast app. But if you're listening to this on a podcast, you probably already found us. Yes. And we're also on YouTube with Basement Movie Room, which is hard to find because we haven't hit enough subscribers to have a URL yet. But we'll see you next time.
Yes.
Thanks for listening and watching and all that good stuff.
None shall pass.